there's been a lot of speculation about whether the hydraulics were cut, and of course, hydraulic systems need power. And so it sounds as though what has finally happened is that the power circuit uh, to the plane sort of actually crashed out a little bit before the actual event. So that would seem the most likely cause, which is annoying in as much that you won't have that vital 4 minutes which the investigators need. So I had to try other methods, and there are other methods of actually finding out what happened. So yes, it's disappointing. Then it becomes a forensic job, and then they had to strip it apart, and then you'd be surprised what they can do to recover the data or most of the data, but they'll recover sufficient in order to put the whole picture together. And that they will also put together with other bits of information that they have, because remember, the plane is always transmitting information as well. So it's not just the black box recorder, because that's interesting to hear what the pilot was saying, and the knobs that are being pushed and when they are being pushed and whether they are working or not. So when you go to reconstruct the whole thing, they'll go into a simulator and try and reconstruct exactly what happened. So see if they can learn anything from that. And some of the areas that might be missed in the initial investigation will then come up in a series of simulations that they will do. And then they can make assumptions and then fill in the missing bits. You might get a preliminary report, say, within 3 months. It just depends how good the information is that they can get from the black boxes and from the two survivors and other people and satellite companies and so on. I have known these to take up to 3 years, but the point is there's a lot of worldwide interest in this, and the president of South Korea has ordered an immediate review of all aviation matters there. And I think we'll find that there'll be a lot of information going in. There'll be a lot of pressure on people to actually do the job and do it quickly, but they've got to do it thoroughly. You can't cut corners with this. It has to be very, very detailed, because every facet has to be changed, because the survivors, the passengers and the crew, their families want to know exactly what happened and why it happened. There's a big question mark over these concrete slabs. They should not be there. And the authority, the regulator, ICAO, specifically have a section in their handbook which says that should not be there. And it's actually down there, written. And so no matter what local people say, oh yes, that's the way to do it, it isn't. It's in the regulations, but that is for the local authorities to sort out. What will happen now is that they will gather up all the bits, all the remaining fragments of the aircraft. They'll be taken to a secure location, and they will reassemble it. They'll have a framework of the fuselage, and they put all the pieces back, and they'll try and find out exactly what did happen and what was missing. Also, they need to establish whether there's any sabotage or anything like that. So that will be part of the investigation. It's a very thorough investigation. You have a delegation from Boeing over there. You have a delegation for the American aviation, and the regulators. They've all gone over there to assist. And you'll find other teams coming in from other parts of the world with different specialisms. And they will then help to put this report together to try and work out exactly what happened. But it's a very sad event. Definitely there was something wrong with one engine, and one engine we think was out. So it's flying on one engine. But the point is, if it's a heavy bird strike, by mean a number of birds, not just one big bird, if it's a heavy bird strike, that can actually take out the engine, but it can also cut the turbo fan blades, which are carbon fiber, sorry, and this might crack off, then go through the cowling, and it might cut a fuel line, might cut hydraulics. You don't know. And that's what we're going to find out when we get all these systems back in the simulator. So that could have caused a lot of damage. So basically, the pilot only has some of his controls available. So if that is the case, because he couldn't get the undercarriage down, and the second time he went around, something happened there. And so if that's stuck and he finally comes down, and some people have noticed that he came down halfway down the runway. In fact, he probably came down right at the beginning of the runway, but there's an effect which is like an air bubble, which created underneath the fuselage and the concrete runway. So the aircraft can't actually physically belly flop, if you like, belly land on the runway. It'll be held up this cushion there, and then finally that dissipates, and then it makes contact with the runway. Now, of course, what's happened, it's then gone on at speed because it's got no way of slowing this down. So it's going at full speed along the runway. It's got no braking system, and he can't deploy any brakes at all, any braking systems at all. And so it goes straight into the locator antenna array. Now, this is a location guiding system to help you land in inclement weather, that sort of thing. And it's supposed to be set up on a metal framework, which falls down if an aircraft hits it. For some reason, they have mounted this in a 40-centimeter thick reinforced concrete slab. The plane has come along and the nose of the plane has gone underneath the slab, which has then raised itself up at a 45-degree angle. The plane has gone in, and that's when the fireball happened. That slab shouldn't have been there. It's not a wall, as many people think. It was actually a slab which was on top of an earth mound, and it's just gone in, lifted it, and stopped it dead. And then, of course, the fireball happened, and you know the rest of the story. Quite frankly, the pilot didn't have a chance. He's very skilled to get the plane down, and it was right in the middle of the runway. But I'm afraid at that speed, going into the concrete. No, if the slab wasn't there, just the antenna array was there, that would have fallen over. There would be damage done, certainly a lot of damage, but it might not have burst into fire. Then it would then gone on, and it would hit the perimeter wall, which is breeze blocks. They're hollow blocks made of clinker, if you like. And so that would have collapsed. They need to put solid walls around airports there because they get a lot of animals and coming in from the surrounding area. If you look at Heathrow Airport, you'll see they've still got chain link fences and hedges on the perimeter, which is the way it should be. So that'd be easy to go through. So the plane could have come down, it could have hit that clinker wall, that would have broken, and it would have gone on a bit further, and then hopefully it wouldn't have caught alight like the fireball, but many more people might have got off. And of course, you allow 90 seconds to clear a plane. That is the target. So if they had that 90 seconds and the doors were open, they could have got everybody off. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But they did get two of the staff off who were sitting in rear jump seats at the tail end of the plane. They survived because the emergency workers were very, very clever and they got them out. So you really must admire their work. And they had a lot of people on site. They had over 1,500 people, emergency workers, firemen, officials. That's the official count, they said. And they had 35 fire engines there, which they brought them all in. So that's quite impressive. But they managed to get the two cabin crew out of the back, and they are now talking, so they can give an impression of what was happening inside the aircraft at the time. So that's very helpful as well. But they were in the rear, and if you look at the pictures, you'll see that only the tail section is recognizable. The rest of it is completely dissipated. They will know the procedure. They'll know what's supposed to happen and when it was supposed to happen. So that'd be very helpful. And what it does, it saves time, because the more information they can get, and they were there, so they know exactly what was happening. So that would be good, and that'd be very helpful. And it's a few more pieces of the jigsaw that they're trying to put together. but also equally, I would like a full investigation into these concrete blocks. It's called a berm, a BERM, which should not have been there. And in fact, we need to look at all the airports in the country and elsewhere to make sure this doesn't happen. They would probably say, well, yes, it was an earthworks and the concrete was behind the earthworks. But in effect, of course, the plane would just go through the earth and still smack into the concrete base. It shouldn't be a concrete base. It should be metal pylons, metal framework, which then is visible. It collapses if it's hit by anything. So that is what I'd like to see. And this whole area at the end of each runway. And this was a dual working runway. They could come in one way and they come in the other way. However, they're directed by air traffic control. So you need to make sure the facilities are safe at either end of the runway, and the special areas at the end too.